Hello and good morning. This is the machine that I'm selling, the Breville Oracle model BES980 in brushed stainless steel. As you saw in the photos, it's very clean. This one's under a year old, I think about 8 months. Used to make 1 or 2 coffees a day. So it's very clean cosmetically. Very few scratches around the front where the cup goes in and out. A few around here as well. But nothing that I can see on the sides. And a tiny dent here on the front left. But honestly, I would give this machine a 9 out of 10 in terms of condition. And on that's on the outside. On the inside, it's fully refurbished. Well, not fully refurbished, but it's recently serviced. I've just done a change of all the seals and the steam boiler sensors on this machine. So I've changed those silicone O-rings on the boilers just to make sure the machine doesn't give you any issues for years and years. I do that as a preventative maintenance, really, not if there's an issue with the machine. So yeah, and it also comes with 6 months of warranty, so if there's any issues or dramas, you can just come back to me. Cool, with that out of the way, in this video I'll be making a coffee. So that's going to be testing the grinder in Tampa, brewing, hot water tap as well, and the steamer, of course, on the automatic setting. So I have the same model at the moment I'm using. I like to begin my sessions on this machine with a blank shot. In fact, I do that with every coffee machine, but this model doesn't really need to be warmed up if you turn it on 10 minutes in advance. So when you wake up in the morning, the machine is cold. If you press the button, it'll take about 5 minutes for it to warm up and reach temperature. If you want it to be ready when you're already awake, you can do that. There's a clock function on this machine, so you can tell the machine to wake up at a certain time, so that by the time you're awake and in the kitchen, it's nice and warm and ready to go. I have my machine set at 5:45 a.m. So it already does that. It gets nice and warm automatically, so that I can come at 5:50, make a coffee straight away without waiting. So if you turn it on 5 or 10 minutes, it'll be ready to go. Otherwise, if you want to make the machine a little bit hotter, you can run a blank shot. A blank shot means just a little bit of hot water in your cup to warm things up. So that's going to be going through the handle, it's going to be going through the cup and warming up all the internals as well. It also acts like a little bit of a flush cycle, so it will clean any group head coffee grounds, oils, etc. I'll do that once. I believe the factory settings on these on the single button it'll go for 25 seconds, and on the double button it'll go for 30 seconds. You can let it go for the full 25-30 seconds, but you can even stop it halfway. If it fills half of your cup, that's plenty of hot water, I think. There we go, 25 seconds. Take this away. Very nice and warm. You can also store your cups here on top. So this will fit about 2 to 3 cups. And after a while it'll get nice and warm because the top lid is actually made of metal and the boilers are just directly underneath. So we'll get some passive heat from that. Cool. With my blank shot done, my cup is nice and warm. I'm gonna now start grinding the coffee into the basket. So this machine comes with the single and the double. This is the double. I prefer the double not only because it tastes better, but it's more consistent, I think, than the single basket. It's an automatic machine, so that means you have to. That means you can just grind and set and forget. But if you're curious, I can measure the inputs and outputs, and I will do that for you. I'm curious as well. I tend to find that these machines will dose about 20 to 22 grams of coffee into the double basket. So it's as easy as after you dry the basket, just lock it in and then turn it to the right, and it'll grind, dose, and tamp for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop it after 5 seconds because I haven't made a coffee on this machine for a while, and the grind size, I've just changed the grind size to number 10. So I just need to flush the old coffee that's inside. So you do that by running it for a few seconds. Okay, so that's about 5 seconds. There's a little bit, I'm going to get rid of that because I know it's a combination of the old and the new grind sizes, and also the old and the new coffee that's been in the machine. Alright, now just do that and it'll do its job. All done. Take this out, have a look. Very good. Very nice, nicely polished. And the dose is 18.5. Okay, it looks like this one's a little bit less. You can increase the dose. I can teach you very quickly. So it might be a little bit messy. Take the tamper out. This is the tamper. Take the tamper fan out, and there's this little small device. You have a small screw they need to unscrew, and this is another bigger screw. So if you rotate this, the height will be shorter. The height will be shorter. That means the tamper will be tamping a higher depth of coffee, so it'll give you more. I'm quite happy with 18 grams. I'll leave it there. But if you want to increase it to 20 or 22, you just reduce the number of threads that you can see here. There's a YouTube video from Breville on how to do this as well. But yeah, you just rotate this clockwise, put this small screw back in place, make sure it's nice and solid, put it back, and it'll give you more coffee. I'll leave it there. Great. Make sure you clean the edges to keep your machine clean. Then lock it in nice and strong. Now, time to make some coffee. So this machine is as automated as it gets in terms of espresso machine. The only thing that really you control is the grind size. So this is going to determine how fine or how coarse the coffee particles are. And so it will determine the speed of your brew, and as a result, it will also determine the amount of coffee in the cup. You can think of the grind size as the coffee amount in the cup. So if you increase the grind size to a very large amount, you'll get a lot of coffee in your cup because the speed will be high. If you reduce the grind size, you reduce the speed, and at the end of the shot, you reduce the amount of coffee in the cup. Cheap or old beans will also result in a very fast shot in addition to a large grind size. So if you have very old beans, you'll struggle to get decent brews. And I think I have been doing that because my beans are not the usual Aldi beans that I usually get. Aldi is good, it's fresh, it's good for the money. I was running out of time and I had to buy from Coles, and I got the Aurora, I couldn't find it, here we go, some Aurora beans. They're not super fresh. I've found that on the same grind settings as my Aldi beans, they'll give me a quicker shot, less crema, and a bit worse of a flavor, but that's beside the point. What I'm trying to say is grind size will determine your shot speed and the amount in the coffee, the amount of coffee in the cup. So if you have too much or too little, it's usually because of the grind size. So we're going to be doing a double shot. So that's going to be going for the full 30 seconds. I forgot to say you have a hot water tap here. So if you want to add hot water to your coffee to make it a long black, or even to brew some tea bags. In my case, I like to use the hot water to add a little bit of sugar to my cup. That will help me dissolve the sugar in my cup and make my life a little bit easier. If you like to add sugar or any flavorings, please add them before the coffee versus after. So if you add them before, they'll be more evenly mixed with the espresso. It'll be less work for you later on. So sugar, sweetener, any flavors, add them now. Alright, put this back. I'm going to reset my scale and measure the output. I forgot to say that espresso usually is a 2-to-1 ratio. So that means for every gram you grind into the handle, you want 2 grams going into the cup. That's the amount I usually aim for. So that means for this 30-second shot, what we want to see in our cup is about 35 to 40 grams of coffee. That's usually about this much usually. If it's more than that, like I said, it's the grind size. If it's less than that, it's also probably the grind size. Hopefully it should be close enough. We'll give it a try. I've reset my scale so that we can measure the output. You don't need a scale, but you can, over time you can learn how to gauge with your eyes. So I've started off when I was a beginner with a scale just to know what 35 grams looks like. But over time you can just eyeball it and you can tell, that's definitely more than usual, and that's definitely less than usual. So if you get more than usual, so for example half a cup, that's too much for an espresso. If you get a few drops only, that's too little for an espresso. That's the basics. This is a dual boiler machine, of course, so you can always steam and brew at the same time. But I'll be doing them separately for the sake of the video. Definitely on the faster side, unfortunately. I'll stop it there at 16 seconds. That's 37 grams. The output amount is fine, but the speed is not fine. It's too quick. What I think it is, it's the beans. I think the grind size was actually pretty good. It's just that the beans are very old. I think they've been manufactured months and months ago, or like roasted months ago. So it's not giving us an optimal extraction. At least now you know what to do in terms of steps. If your shot was 16 seconds to give you that 36 grams, then either reduce your grind size by a few numbers and try again. But if you're still not having good luck, change your beans. Try to get a bean that's roasted within a month. So if you have a local roaster you prefer or a cafe, go to them and buy their beans. Otherwise, if you have to go to a supermarket, I would only recommend Aldi at this stage. I've tried all the supermarkets, well, most of the supermarkets here in Melbourne, and they rarely have good beans. Aldi usually has pretty fresh beans that give you good results. But anyway, this is usually what, well, this is 37 grams, so this is what it should look like if you want to eyeball it. So it's a couple centimeters height in most cups that I've found. So this will be a drinkable shot. I won't say it's horrible, but it'll tend to be a bit more sour if it runs quick. If it runs too slow, it tends to be a bit more bitter and burnt. But that's okay. So when we add sugar, when we add milk, these nuances of flavors or mistakes, let's say, sort of disappear or are a bit less relevant. So I'm not too fussed. If I were to make a long black or an espresso straight away, drink it straight away, I want to be more granular and more accurate with my results. But if I'm adding milk and flavors, getting the right numbers isn't too important. But as long as you sort of try and improve shot by shot, that's all you can do. Some people would throw this away and try again. I think it's fine. Just gonna give it a flush. So just like before, the flush will act as a bit of a cleaning cycle. You can store the port filter here. You can store it down here. I usually prefer down here just to let it dry, whereas here it'll stay warm. It'll stay warm, yes, but it will stay humid as well. But it's not too bad if you leave it here, because the next morning you turn on the machine, or if it automatically turns on, the portafilter will be hot because it's attached to the group head, which is also actively heated by the machine. Milk. So to convert this into a latte, we add steamed milk. I'm going to try to do like a latte cappuccino thing. So I've put the foam at about 60-70%, temperature at 65 degrees, and I'm going to be using the automatic mode. You can use the manual mode by lifting this wand up and lifting the lever up as well. So you can practice your steaming skills like a barista would, and manually create that foam, that texture in the milk. Otherwise, if you want to use automatic, it has to be down. So you do this and you press, and it will engage the air pump inside the machine to give you that foam, hands-free, hopefully. So I'm going to do that now. I've got my milk jug filled with cold full cream cow's milk. It's about halfway, so if you look at this spout level, it's just below that spout level for a standard coffee. And then before you take the milk out, make sure you have a nice wet towel ready to go. Not a tissue, a wet towel, because you want to scrub. Very nice milk consistency. I'm going to let it drip into the cup for a couple seconds, and then I'm going to wipe it down, going back and forth. So this needs to be done ASAP, the wiping, because obviously steam is very hot. The wand is made of metal. It will conduct heat and get really hot, and the milk will stick to it. If you don't clean it straight away, it'll be really hard to clean later on. It'll form like a little crust of milk, and I've seen that happen so many times. It's just disgusting. So the sooner you clean, the better. And that's cleaning the outside. Cleaning the inside, the machine will take that. Will take care of that. If you push the wand down, it'll pulse the steam 5 times, and that's just to clean the holes and the insides from any milk residue. Very good. Just make sure there's no milk. Milk will stink. Your drip tray will not smell great after a week. So try to wipe any milk that you see, and just overall keep the machine as dry as you can. The milk here is pretty good. This way. Good latte texture, I would say. Swirl it around to mix up the textures, or mix it up, and then knock it down on the counter to break any of the big air bubbles. Do this a couple times until the surface is nice and smooth. Okay. This is a decent amount of foam, about a centimeter or so. Coffee looks delicious. I will say that automatic mode is pretty good, but if you want super smooth milk, nothing beats manual mode. Nothing beats a good barista level of skills, good milk churning with a manual technique. The automatic is up there in terms of texture and temperature. So like I said, you can select the temperature and the froth level. So it's very easy. But if you want latte art, you can probably get some latte art if you're very skilled with the automatic setting, but the manual setting makes it a little bit more easier. Nonetheless, the coffee will taste great regardless of what the milk looks like. It looks good at least. and looking forward to having that coffee. I think you can make the same coffees, if not better, once you get the machine, with very minimal learning curve. I'm sure you'll love it. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoy, and if you have any questions or queries, please don't hesitate. I will see you soon. Cheers.